After I bought my first house, my parents said it should have gone to my sister instead. I thought it was just a bad joke, until they took me to court and tried to force the house to be transferred to her. Throwaway account, for obvious reasons, though. Honestly, after everything that happened, I don't really care who knows this story anymore. I, 31, male, work in commercial real estate investment and just closed on an $850,000 house in one of the most sought-after neighborhoods in the city. 4 bedrooms, 3-car garage, backyard big enough to host the Super Bowl, the kind of place I dreamed about growing up in our cramped split level where I shared a bedroom with my entitled sister until I was 16. Let me paint you the family picture because context matters here. My dad works middle management at an insurance company. Decent money, but nothing spectacular, pulling in maybe $75,000 annually. My mom's a part-time dental hygienist, working 3 days a week, bringing home another $35,000. They're solidly middle class, comfortable, but not wealthy by any stretch. But they made a decision early on that my sister Victoria, 33 now, was their precious princess who deserved the world. And I was just the spare kid who could figure things out on his own. Classic golden child versus scapegoat dynamic that you read about in psychology books. Victoria got dance lessons, piano lessons, art classes, summer camps, private tutoring when her grades tanked. I got told to go play outside and figure it out yourself. When I was 17 and wanted to take the SATs, I had to pay the $60 fee myself from my job at the local auto shop. Meanwhile, Victoria got a brand new BMW for her 18th birthday because she needed reliable transportation for college. But here's the thing. Instead of getting bitter and resentful like some people might, I used it as pure motivation. Started working construction during high school summers when I was 16, doing grunt work for $12 an hour in scorching heat. Saved every single penny and put myself through state school studying finance. Worked 30-plus hours a week at various jobs, campus bookstore, restaurant server, weekend construction gigs, while maintaining a 3.8 GPA that I'm still proud of today. Got my real estate license junior year and started flipping contracts on weekends, making small commissions that added up over time. After graduation, I grounded out for 8 years in commercial real estate. Started as the coffee copy-running guy and worked my way up to closing million-dollar deals. Last year, I made $180,000 base plus bonuses. This year, I'm tracking toward $220,000. Victoria, she got a communications degree. My parents paid $160,000 for it. Yes, you read that right, $160,000. Spent 2 years finding herself in California, living in expensive apartments they funded. Came back with 0 job prospects and decided she was going to be a lifestyle influencer. For the past 5 years, she's been making maybe $800 monthly from her Instagram, where she posts artsy coffee photos and steals motivational quotes from Pinterest. Her content is exactly what you'd expect: generic inspiration posts, mirror selfies, and the occasional sponsored post for sketchy diet supplements that probably pays her in free product rather than actual money. She lives in my parents' basement and still drives that 15-year-old BMW they bought her. So, last month, I finally pulled the trigger on something I've been planning and saving for over 3 years: buying a house in Riverside Heights, the exclusive area where all the doctors, lawyers, and successful business owners live. You know the neighborhood. Tree-lined streets, manicured lawns, houses that actually have character instead of looking like cookie-cutter suburban boxes. $850,000 purchase price, which in today's market for that area was actually reasonable. I put down $170,000 cash, exactly 20% to avoid PMI, and got a mortgage for the rest at 2.8% because my credit score is 798 and my debt-to-income ratio qualified me easily, with room to spare. The day I got the keys, I took a photo holding them up in front of the house and posted it on Facebook. Dreams do come true when you work for them. Got 200-plus likes and tons of congratulations from college friends, work colleagues, former classmates, even some of my old construction buddies. People were genuinely excited for me because they knew how hard I'd worked to get here. The comments were full of support. So proud of you. Component placement. Can't wait to see the housewarming party. My parents didn't like or comment. Should have been my first red flag. 3 days later, my phone rings. Dad's voice. We need to have a family meeting about this house situation. What house situation? I ask, genuinely confused. You know what I'm talking about. Your mother and I have been discussing it, and we think you need to reconsider some things. I'm thinking maybe they want to see it or plan a housewarming party. Oh, how naive I was. I drive over that evening and walk into what felt like an intervention you'd see in a bad TV drama. Parents sitting side by side on the couch like a united front. Victoria positioned in the chair across from them, looking smug and entitled. And there's an empty chair facing all of them, like I'm about to get court-martialed by my own family. The whole setup was clearly planned. They'd obviously discussed this ahead of time and decided on their strategy. The lighting was dim, the atmosphere was tense, and I could immediately tell this wasn't going to be the congratulatory conversation I'd naively expected. Dad starts. Son, we've been talking as a family, and we think the right thing to do would be for Victoria to have the house. I actually laughed. What are you talking about? Mom jumps in. This is exactly the attitude we're talking about. Victoria is struggling. She can't afford to move out, and you're doing very well for yourself. You could easily buy another house. Then Victoria speaks, and this part still makes my blood pressure spike every time I think about it. I've always dreamed of having a house like that, and honestly, I think I deserve it more than you do. I've been through so much emotional trauma trying to build my brand and establish myself as an influencer. And you've had everything handed to you with your corporate job and steady income. You don't understand the struggles of being a creative entrepreneur in today's economy. It's not fair that you get to live in luxury while I'm stuck in the basement trying to make ends meet. I stared at her in complete disbelief. This woman who's never worked a real day in her life, whose biggest stress is choosing between Instagram filters and deciding which inspirational quote to steal from Pinterest, whose most challenging daily decision is whether to order DoorDash or have mom make her a sandwich, just told me I've had everything handed to me. The audacity was breathtaking. Here I was, someone who'd worked construction in 100-degree heat, pulled all-nighters studying while working multiple jobs, lived on ramen noodles for years to save money, and she thought I was the privileged one. You're all insane, I said, and walked out. Dad yelled after me, "This conversation isn't over. Family takes care of family." I thought that was the end of it. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. 2 weeks after that bizarre family meeting, I'm returning from the gym and there's a process server waiting by my front door. Professional-looking woman in a suit hands me an envelope like she's delivering the Hope Diamond. I open it right there on my doorstep and I swear I thought I was hallucinating. My own parents were suing me for my house. The house I bought with my own money. The lawsuit was 47 pages of pure fantasy. Claim 1. I owed them $420,000 in child-rearing expenses and educational investment. Claim 2. Victoria was financially disadvantaged due to the economic climate affecting social media entrepreneurs. I had to read that twice. Claim 3. As their son, I had a moral and legal obligation to ensure family financial stability. Claim 4. The house purchase was made using foundational skills and values they provided, making them entitled to the asset. The relief sought? Transfer of the house to Victoria, with me continuing to pay the mortgage for 36 months, plus $15,000 in emotional damages for the stress I caused by being selfish. I called my lawyer friend and read him the whole thing. Dead silence for 30 seconds. Then, "Bro, this is the most insane thing I've ever heard, but you need to take this seriously, because crazy people can still win if you don't fight back properly." I probably should have hired him, but I was so angry. I wanted to handle this myself. I've always been good at research and documentation, and honestly, I wanted the satisfaction of beating them using my own skills. The family drama started immediately. Victoria went full victim mode on social media, posted a long Instagram story about toxic family members who put money over love, and how she was fighting for what's morally right. She had about 3,000 followers at the time, mostly bots and middle-aged women who followed her for coffee photos. But here's where it gets entertaining. She started a TikTok series called My Brother Stole My Future, where she'd cry on camera talking about how she'd already picked out furniture for her house and how I was destroying the family. Some videos got decent views because people love train wrecks. My parents went nuclear on Facebook. Mom wrote this essay about sacrificing her career to raise me and how I was abandoning the family in their time of need. Dad shared articles about successful children who forgot their roots. The cherry on top? Victoria created a GoFundMe called Help Me Fight for My Family Home. She claimed I had manipulated the legal system and needed $30,000 for legal fees to get her house back. She raised $847 in 2 weeks, mostly from relatives. My aunt, Dad's sister, became their chief flying monkey. She commented on every social media post about how ungrateful I was and how Victoria deserved stability. She even called my office trying to get me fired, telling my boss I was mentally unstable and had abandoned my family responsibilities. Thankfully, my boss thought it was hilarious and just gave me a heads up. The harassment escalated quickly. They started driving by my house at odd hours. Victoria would post Instagram stories from her car outside my neighborhood, with captions like, "Just thinking about what could have been," and "Some people get everything handed to them." I installed a Ring doorbell and security cameras. Within a week, I caught Victoria trying to peek in my windows at 11 p.m. My aunt taking pictures of my house from the street, and my parents sitting in their car in my driveway for 20 minutes, just watching. During discovery, I had to provide financial documents proving I bought the house myself. Meanwhile, I requested their financial records to show they had no claim to the property. That's when I discovered something fascinating. My parents had been lying about their financial situation. They weren't struggling. They had over $200,000 in savings and investments, but they'd been telling everyone, including Victoria, that they were broke. Victoria's records were even better. This woman, who claimed she was financially disadvantaged, had been receiving $2,500 monthly from my parents for 3 years. Plus, they were paying her car insurance, phone bill, health insurance, and letting her live rent-free. She was making $800 monthly from Instagram and getting $2,500 monthly from my parents. But somehow, I was the villain for not giving her my house. The discovery phase took 4 months. The family harassment continued. Victoria making TikToks outside my house. My parents showing up at places they knew I'd be. Always watching, never speaking. But I was documenting everything. Photos, videos, screenshots, bank records. Building a case not just to keep my house, but to expose what manipulative people they really were. Court got scheduled for February. 3 months to prepare for war. The 3 months before court were like watching a slow-motion car crash, where the car was my family's reputation, and I had the best seat in the house. Victoria's TikTok series, My Brother Stole My Future, started getting attention, but not the supportive kind she expected. Comments were asking basic questions like, "Why don't you get a job?" And "How is it his fault you don't own a house?" Instead of answering logically, she made response videos crying about not everyone understanding the struggles of building a personal brand, and how some people are born with privilege. The comments got even more brutal. My favorite? "Girl, your brother worked construction, and you lived in your parents' basement. What privilege?" Victoria doubled down. She started making videos about financial abuse and family members who gaslight you into thinking you don't deserve success. She even made one where she drove to my neighborhood and filmed herself crying in the car about how she should be living here instead of in a basement. The video got 50,000 views, but for all the wrong reasons. People started response videos roasting her. Someone found her LinkedIn, showing she'd been unemployed for 5 years. Another person found old Instagram posts where she bragged about designer bags and vacations my parents bought her. The internet was doing my research for me. Meanwhile, my parents hired a second lawyer after the first one told them the case was unwinnable and they should drop it. The new guy was more expensive, but willing to take their money. Other family members started getting dragged in. My uncle called trying to play mediator. Can't you just give her the down payment money instead? You can afford another house, and it would keep the peace. I told him exactly what I told everyone else. I'm not giving anyone anything. I earned this house. If Victoria wants a house, she can get a job and buy one. My grandmother called crying, saying the family was falling apart. That one hurt, because I actually respect her. But I held firm. Christmas was particularly entertaining. I got uninvited, obviously. But I found out later that Victoria spent the entire dinner talking about her house and showing people photos she'd taken from the street. She was making redecoration plans and discussing where she'd put her art studio. My cousin was there and told me she literally said, "Once I get the house, I'm throwing a huge housewarming party to celebrate justice being served." This woman was already living there, in her head. While they were busy playing victim on social media, I was doing actual work. I hired a forensic accountant to analyze their financial records from Discovery. What we found was beautiful. My parents had been lying to Victoria about being broke while sitting on $200,000 plus in assets. They had been paying her $2,500 monthly for 3 years, $90,000 total. They'd bought her car, paid for vacations, medical bills, everything. Victoria had never filed taxes on the money they gave her. They'd taken out a $50,000 home equity loan to fund the lawsuit. The best part? Victoria had been claiming she was an independent entrepreneur on social media while taking $30,000 yearly from mommy and daddy. I also discovered my aunt had been pushing for the lawsuit from the beginning. She'd never liked me and was helping pay their legal fees. 3 weeks before court, Victoria made her biggest mistake. She posted a TikTok, shopping for furniture for my new house. Expensive store, picking out couches and dining sets, talking about manifesting the life I deserve. Someone screen recorded it and sent it to me. The comments were brutal. "This is embarrassing. Imagine being 33 and acting like this. Your brother dodged a bullet." Victoria actually responded to hate comments, making it worse. 2 weeks before court, they made their final push. Parents, Victoria, and my aunt showed up at my house Sunday morning while I was working in the garage. Didn't knock, just walked up like they owned the place. Dad started, "Son, we can still resolve this without court. Just do the right thing." Victoria was walking around my property like she was already the owner, taking pictures and discussing where she'd plant flowers. I told them to get off my property or I'd call police. My aunt started yelling about how ungrateful I was. Victoria started crying about me destroying her dreams, and Mom kept repeating, "Family should help family." I went inside, locked the door, and called 911. By the time police arrived, they were gone. But I filed a report anyway. That night, Victoria posted an Instagram story about how I called police on my own family, and how some people will do anything to avoid doing what's right. The comments were not supportive. Court was Monday morning. I spent Sunday organizing evidence, financial records, social media screenshots, trespassing photos, the forensic accountant's report, everything. I was ready to destroy them. Court day felt like Christmas morning. I arrived early, dressed in my best suit, carrying 2 briefcases full of evidence. I felt like a prosecutor going after a crime family, except I was fighting for something already mine. My parents showed up with Victoria, my aunt, and about 6 other relatives for moral support. They were dressed like they were attending a funeral, all coordinated in black and navy blue. Victoria was carrying a folder with Pinterest printouts of interior designs. She'd literally brought decoration ideas to court, like she was already planning to move in. Their new lawyer looked nervous. First time seeing all my evidence, and I could tell he was realizing what a disaster he'd gotten into. The judge was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who looked like she'd seen every type of family drama imaginable. She started by asking both sides to state their case briefly. Their lawyer went first. "Your Honor, my clients are loving parents who invested heavily in their son's development and now seek equitable distribution of the benefits of that investment. The defendant's sister is in financial distress and needs stable housing, while the defendant has means to easily acquire another property." My turn. "Your Honor, I am the sole owner of the property in question. I purchased it entirely with funds I earned and saved through my own employment. No other party contributed to this purchase in any way. This lawsuit is an attempt to steal my legally acquired property based on the false premise that adult children owe their parents ownership of their assets. The judge nodded. Let's see the evidence. They went first, and it was beautiful watching them hang themselves. Evidence item 1. Baby photos of me as proof of their investment. The judge looked at them. How do baby photos relate to property ownership? Their lawyer shifted. They show the emotional and financial investment my clients made. The judge raised an eyebrow. Are you claiming parenting expenses create ownership rights in adult children's property? Awkward silence. Evidence item 2. Victoria's student loan statements. $180,000 total. The judge turned to her. Who is responsible for these loans? Victoria swallowed. I am, but I can't afford payments because of the economic situation affecting influencers. The judge's expression didn't change. What is your current employment status? I'm an entrepreneur building my personal brand on social media. What income does that generate? It's not about income right now. It's about building audience engagement. The judge leaned back slightly. So you're unemployed? I'm self-employed. Evidence item 3. Victoria's business plan for turning my house into a creative space and content studio. The judge flipped through the pages. Did the defendant agree to this business plan? Their lawyer cleared his throat. No, Your Honor, but it shows how the property could be better utilized. By someone who doesn't own it, the judge replied flatly. Then it was my turn. Evidence item 1. Complete financial records showing I purchased the house entirely with my own money. The judge nodded. This clearly shows sole ownership. Any dispute about these facts? Their lawyer hesitated. No, Your Honor, but what? Evidence, please. Evidence item 2. The forensic accountant's report showing my parents had over $200,000 in assets while claiming to be broke. The judge looked up sharply. So the plaintiffs misrepresented their financial situation? Yes, Your Honor. They told everyone they couldn't help Victoria while secretly giving her $2,500 monthly. Evidence item 3. Bank records showing Victoria received $90,000 from my parents over 3 years. The judge turned to her again. Were you aware you were receiving $30,000 yearly from your parents? That wasn't income. That was family support. Did you report this support on your tax returns? I don't think I had to. You received $90,000 in unreported income while claiming financial hardship. Victoria's face went pale. Evidence item 4. Screenshots of Victoria's TikTok videos, including the furniture shopping one. The judge actually watched Victoria walking through a store, pointing at couches, smiling, talking about her new house. Did you create this video? The judge asked. Yes, but I was just visualizing my future. You were shopping for furniture for a house you don't own while in litigation. I was manifesting success. Evidence item 5. Photos and police reports of them trespassing. The judge's tone hardened. Did you enter the defendant's property without permission? Dad spoke up. We're his parents. We were trying to resolve this as a family. On property you're currently suing to obtain? No answer. The judge recessed for 15 minutes. When she came back, she didn't waste time. This case is not only without merit, it borders on harassment. She looked directly at my parents. The defendant purchased property with his own funds. The plaintiffs have no legal claim whatsoever. Then she turned slightly toward Victoria. Furthermore, the plaintiff Victoria has demonstrated a concerning pattern of entitlement and financial irresponsibility while receiving substantial, undisclosed support from her parents. She paused, then added, the defendant has shown remarkable restraint facing what appears to be a coordinated campaign of harassment. Case dismissed. She even awarded me attorney's fees and costs, despite me representing myself. Victoria started sobbing right there in the courtroom. My aunt began yelling about judicial bias until security told her to be quiet. My parents just sat there like someone had died. But the real show started outside. On the courthouse steps, Victoria completely lost it. Ugly crying, screaming about how the judge didn't understand and how I had manipulated everything. My aunt went into full meltdown mode. shouting at random people about corruption and broken legal systems. Security had to warn her again. People walking by started recognizing Victoria from her TikToks. A couple of college girls stopped, then one of them said, "Oh my gosh, is that the girl who thinks her brother should give her his house?" They pulled out their phones. Victoria saw them filming and started screaming louder, which only made them record more. I didn't say a word. I just walked to my car and left. Winning felt good, but I knew this wasn't over. Within 24 hours, Victoria posted a 10-minute TikTok rant about corrupt judges and rigged courts. She claimed I had somehow manipulated the system and promised to appeal. The comments were brutal. Take the L and get a job. This is embarrassing. Your brother doesn't owe you anything. She doubled down, making more videos about injustice and corruption. My parents joined in again. Mom wrote long Facebook posts about how I had chosen money over family. Dad shared articles about ungrateful children. This time, though, people weren't buying it. Friends, neighbors, even distant relatives started pushing back. I remember when he worked 2 jobs for college while Victoria got everything handed to her. Maybe if you'd treated your kids equally, this wouldn't have happened. My aunt tried organizing a family boycott of me, calling relatives and demanding they cut contact. It backfired immediately. My cousin told her, "You're an idiot. He bought a house with his own money. Nobody owes Victoria anything." My grandmother called my parents and told them they should be ashamed. She said she was proud of me, but the harassment didn't stop. Victoria started driving by my house daily, always recording, parking across the street, making videos about how she should be living there. My parents began showing up at my workplace again, sitting in the parking lot, hoping to run into me. When that failed, they started calling the office with fake emergencies. My boss eventually blocked their numbers. The final straw came 3 weeks after court. I came home and found Victoria in my backyard. She had climbed over the fence and was taking measurements, sketching layouts for garden beds and patios. When she saw me, she didn't even look embarrassed. "I'm just planning for when this gets sorted out properly," she said. The legal system failed, but justice will prevail eventually. I called the police. She got arrested for trespassing. That night, she posted from the police station, crying about how I had called the cops on family and was abusing the system. No one felt sorry for her. Something else started happening around that time. The pressure was finally breaking my parents. They were fighting constantly, blaming each other for everything. Dad wanted to drop it and try to fix things. Mom was still convinced Victoria deserved justice. Victoria was pushing them to appeal and even sue me again. Meanwhile, I was documenting everything. Photos of trespassing, screenshots of posts, records of workplace harassment. I realized something important. They were never going to stop. They weren't capable of admitting they were wrong. They would keep pushing, keep harassing, until someone forced them to face real consequences. So I decided to give them exactly what they kept demanding: justice. Just not the kind they expected. Working in commercial real estate, you learn a lot about people's financial situations. You also build connections with lawyers, accountants, and people who know how to dig into things. After Victoria's arrest, I had a conversation with my lawyer friend. Not about suing them, about something else. What if someone was committing tax fraud, identity theft, and running fraudulent fundraising campaigns? I asked. He smiled slightly. Then I'd say that's something the IRS and FBI might be very interested in. So I started digging. Victoria's finances were a disaster. She had been receiving $2,500 a month from my parents for 3 years, $90,000 total. None of it reported as income. She claimed to be a business owner while having almost no legitimate earnings. Her GoFundMe campaign claimed I had stolen a family home and that she needed money for legal fees. She used most of it for personal expenses. She had used my parents' address for credit applications while listing different addresses elsewhere. She had even tried to use my information to get pre-approved for a mortgage on my house. My parents weren't clean either. They had lied about being financially struggling while sitting on over $200,000 in assets. They had taken out a home equity loan to fund the lawsuit. But the biggest mistake Victoria made? She documented everything. Months of Instagram stories, TikToks, Facebook posts, videos of her spending GoFundMe money on clothes and restaurants, posts about being independent while receiving money from my parents, messages about how she planned to take my house and flip it, even a video showing her filling out credit applications using my parents' financial information. She had created a complete digital paper trail. I compiled everything: financial records, screenshots, legal documents. Then I sent it out. IRS for tax fraud, FBI for wire fraud related to fundraising, State Attorney General for fraudulent campaigns, credit bureaus for identity issues, GoFundMe's fraud department, Instagram and TikTok for harassment and false content. Then I waited. While investigations started, Victoria kept digging herself deeper. She launched another fundraising campaign on a different platform, claiming she needed money for an appeal. She was also selling personalized videos on Cameo, complaining about her situation for $25 each. My parents were still harassing me, but less frequently. They were too busy dealing with their own financial stress and constant arguments. The lawsuit had drained them, and Victoria's lifestyle wasn't cheap to maintain. Then things started collapsing. Victoria's new fundraising campaign got shut down within a week. The platform flagged her account for fraud after reviewing her previous activity. She was permanently banned. Her social media accounts followed. Instagram removed her profile for harassment and misleading content. TikTok banned her shortly after. Snapchat suspended her account for violations. She had no platform left. Victoria started posting from burner accounts, ranting about censorship and how she was being silenced for telling the truth. No one cared anymore. Then the IRS letters arrived. My parents got audited. Full financial review going back 3 years. Questions about the $90,000 they had given Victoria, their undeclared financial activities, and the home equity loan. Victoria received her own notice days later. The IRS wanted to discuss her income reporting discrepancies and business claims. But the real moment came when federal agents showed up. FBI, Financial Crimes Division. They came to my parents' house asking for Victoria. According to my cousin, she panicked instantly. Couldn't even answer basic questions without contradicting herself. She called me that same night, crying harder than I'd ever heard. "Please, I don't know what you did, but you need to stop this," she said. "I didn't do anything," I replied calmly. "Maybe you should get a lawyer." The investigation dragged on for 3 months. During that time, everything changed. The harassment stopped completely. No more drive-bys, no more posts, no more calls to my office. They were too busy trying to stay afloat. Victoria moved fully back into my parents' house because she had no income left. My parents sold their boat, canceled vacations, and started liquidating assets to cover legal fees. My aunt went silent after her employer received complaints about her online harassment. Small-town reputations don't recover from that kind of attention. Meanwhile, my life got better. I got promoted at work, started dating someone incredible, hosted game nights, dinners, actually enjoyed the house I worked so hard for. But I wasn't finished. 6 months after the court case, I got a call at 11 p.m. Dad, his voice sounded completely different, broken. "Son, we need to talk. Please, can you come over?" I almost didn't go, but curiosity got the better of me. When I arrived, it didn't even feel like the same house I grew up in. The driveway looked empty. My mom's Camry was gone. Victoria's BMW had a boot on it from unpaid tickets. Inside, the house felt stripped down, furniture missing, decorations gone. Even the big TV had disappeared. They had sold almost everything. My parents looked older, tired, defeated. Victoria was sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by papers, completely drained. "What is this about?" I asked. Dad took a deep breath. "The FBI, they're recommending charges against Victoria. Wire fraud, tax evasion, identity theft." He paused. "She's looking at 3 to 5 years in federal prison." Victoria broke down instantly. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I never meant for it to go this far. I was just angry and jealous. I made stupid decisions." My mom jumped in. "We've talked to 3 lawyers. They all say the same thing. The evidence is overwhelming. She looked at me carefully. The only thing that might help is if you were willing to speak on her behalf. I almost laughed. You sued me for my house, harassed me for months, and now you want my help? Dad nodded slowly. We know we were wrong. About everything. We're begging you. Victoria looked up, eyes swollen. I'll do anything. I'll get a job. I'll pay you back. I'll apologize publicly. Anything. Just please don't let me go to prison. I looked around the room. Then I asked, what else? Mom hesitated. The IRS audit. We owe $67,000 in back taxes and penalties. We have to sell the house. Dad added quietly, we're losing everything. Victoria started crying harder. It's all. For a moment, no one spoke. Then I said, this is the first time in your life you're facing consequences. I looked directly at my parents. And you two spent decades making sure she never had to. Dad tried to interrupt, but I raised my hand. I'm not finished. You sued me. You tried to take something I built myself. You harassed me at work. You trespassed on my property. You tried to destroy my reputation. I paused. And now you want me to help you? Victoria was shaking. Please, I'm begging you. My mom added quickly, we'll sign anything. We'll never contact you again. Just help us this one time. I let the silence sit. Then I said, here's what's going to happen. They all leaned forward. Victoria is going to face the consequences of her actions. You two are going to deal with the consequences of enabling her. I stepped back. And I'm going home. Victoria screamed, you can't just let me go to prison. I'm your sister. I looked at her calmly. You're a stranger who happens to share DNA with me. My mom tried one last time. What if we paid you back? I almost smiled. With what money? Then I turned toward the door. You know what's ironic? If you had just been happy for me, we would still be a family. No one spoke. But you chose greed. You chose entitlement. You chose her over reality. Behind me, I could hear my dad crying. We're so sorry. I didn't turn around. The time for apologies was before the lawsuit. And then I left. Victoria was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison, followed by 3 years of probation. She also had to pay restitution to everyone who donated to her fraudulent campaigns. My parents lost their house and moved into a small apartment. My dad had a stress-induced heart attack. Insurance covered some of it, not all. My aunt lost her job after her employer reviewed her online behavior. Most of the family sided with me once everything came out. My grandmother told me she was proud of me. And me? I'm still living in my house. The house I bought with my own money. I got engaged to Sarah, the woman I'd been dating.